Hi, I'm Rich with Inside HPC. We're here at SC19 in Denver, Colorado, and today I'm here with Gilad Shainer from Mellanox. Gilad, thanks for having me once again.
No, thank you for having me once again.
Well, it's been a while since we talked, so I thought we'd catch up. What's new with Mellanox at SC19?
There's so many things new. First, it is, you know, that we're shipping the fastest interconnect speed for high-performance computing and cloud infrastructures and so forth, which is the 200 gigabit per second HDR InfiniBand. If you remember, the first time that we saw the HDR systems on the list was in June, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, with 4 systems. And now in November, there are many more systems on the list. And actually, almost 1/3 of the new InfiniBand systems in 2019 on the top 500 list are HDR InfiniBand, including the fastest supercomputer which is on the list. And that's just demonstrate the need for faster throughput, smarter network to be able to analyze growing amount of data, to improve science and so forth. So we are very proud to see the adoption, the strong adoption of HDR InfiniBand. And it might be that it's probably the fastest adopted generation of InfiniBand ever. So we're very proud about that. And I think that's probably the biggest change in the top 500 list in November, that InfiniBand grew. And I think it grew 11 or 12% compared to 6 months ago. Just demonstrate the need for the fastest network, the extremely low latency, and the smart in-network computing engines that we provide.
So you got rapid adoption of HDR. Well, what about the Ethernet side? Because you guys supply that as well. How did that do on top 500?
Of course, and as we know, the top 500 lists include kind of core HPC, hyperscale, cloud infrastructures, and enterprises. So both InfiniBand and Ethernet plays there. So InfiniBand grew to 140 systems on the list, which is a nice growth from 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And then on the Ethernet side, Mellanox connects the majority of the 25 gig, the 40 gig, the 100 gig Ethernet, which comes from the hyperscale, comes from the cloud infrastructures. So we're very happy to see the demand for the Mellanox Ethernet side and how it's growing. Another interesting thing is that we see that Microsoft Azure is kind of jumping into the fastest speed they can, and now they have HDR InfiniBand in Azure to provide great performance, great scalability. They've published several application cases which show amazing scalabilities on thousands of cores in Azure, and we're very excited to see how InfiniBand now goes into cloud and other places.
Yeah, so low latency across the board then. And so what's new with Mellanox? What kind of products are you rolling out this week?
Yeah, we announced 2 new products in the InfiniBand family. One of them is Mellanox Quantum LongReach, which extend the reach of InfiniBand to 10 and 40 kilometers. So with Quantum LongReach, people can have native RDMA between remote InfiniBand data centers, running the collective offloads, doing adaptive routing, doing the congestion control on both sides. So with Quantum LongReach, people can take or connect remote data centers together and form a virtual one large supercomputer, which they can share workloads between the sides. They can move job from one side to another side. You can even take the Quantum LongReach and put that in a scientist room, where you can have one server there, so you can do the jobs on a single server to see how it runs, and then you can seamlessly extend that simulations all the way to the supercomputer. So we're very excited with that device. It enables to build virtual large data centers, just connecting local remote systems. So that's one device, and it's running at 100 gigabit per second, supporting HDR and EDR InfiniBand. And the other device is a Mellanox Skyway, which is a new gateway from InfiniBand to Ethernet that's supporting 100 gigabit per second and 200 gigabit per second speeds, and enable to connect in a very high throughput InfiniBand supercomputers to remote or external Ethernet fabrics or external Ethernet storage and so forth. And the reason for those gateways is that we believe that you want to provide the best performance inside a data center or for the applications running on the data center. So we want to provide the lowest latency possible. You want to provide all the amazing in-network computing elements. You want to provide adaptive routing, congestion control inside of that. And of course, you can connect InfiniBand storage seamlessly into the InfiniBand data center. And then if you need to go to external Ethernet networks, then the gateway is the best way. In the past, if you remember, Mellanox had a switch device that runs both InfiniBand and Ethernet on the same device. So we kind of integrated the gateway to Ethernet into the silicon. And there is some other proprietary network that are trying to do the same thing now by integrating standard Ethernet into their proprietary protocol. The problem with that approach is once you combine standard Ethernet and the high-speed network, you're going to create performance penalties. And one simple example is that your latency is going to go much higher. And we don't think that it makes sense to save external gateways to Ethernet by increasing the latency and negatively impacting the performance on the applications. So it's better to keep the lowest latency, and InfiniBand provide that lowest latency inside. And if you want to go to external Ethernet, then you can use those new Skyway gateways, go 100 gigabit, 200 gigabit, and actually ready for the 400 gigabit generation, and just use that for the external Ethernet connectivity.
Well, it's all about low latency with Mellanox, and it's exciting to see your advancements here. So, hey, thanks for having me once again, Gilad, and have a great week.
Thank you very much.
You bet.